After a gorgeous opening cinematic tour in 1938 of Lost Heaven, we find Detective Norman, who meets Tommy Angelo, who has arranged a meeting with the detective in a cafe. We discover Tommy is prepared to give the detective information on the Morello case, a case that has been cold for years. He's doing it to ensure the safety of his wife and daughter, and because he's on the run and is fearing for his life. Tommy explains that he first met Paulie and Sam in 1930 when they were on the run from pursuers. They forced Tommy at gunpoint to drive them away, so he did. They get to Salieri's bar where Tommy waits outside. They pay him more than enough compensation for his troubles and said if he ever needed a job, Don Salieri would help out. After that night, he never felt that being a cab driver satisfied him or fulfilled him. After a day of work, he gets attacked by people who say they're Morello's boys, the people that were chasing Paulie and Sam, so he runs to them while getting chased. They protect him, then Tommy meets Don Salieri, who was prepared to give him a loan to compensate for the cab damaged in the attack. Tommy says he's grateful, but asks his permission to get his own back at them. Salieri accepts. Tommy and Paulie use Molotov cocktails and torch Morello's bar's parking lot. Then he finds out Morello has cops on side, which explains why they're interested in the Morello case. Anyway, after that they return, and Don Salieri sets up ground rules with Tommy before adopting him into the family, after promising he'd be loyal to the Don. That's when he formally meets Frank, Salieri's smart advisor. Days later, Tommy gets given a gun and learns how to pick locks. Tommy, Sam and Paulie go to stores to get payment for Salieri and his men protecting them and their business from trouble. But a motel payment pickup goes sideways. Paulie gets shot and Sam gets beaten, so Tommy saves Sam and gets them both out of there and saves the mission by retrieving the money. Tommy told Norman about how Morello just murdered a boxer in broad daylight, even while he was being watched by cops, despite the boxer making him a lot of money, which shows how little he cared. All because the guy scraped Morello's car. Then a couple of years later, in 1932, Salieri had been betting on drivers to bring him money. But there was a brilliant new European driver he was sure Morello was in bed with, so he got Tommy to sabotage his ride. But the Morello's men roughed up the Don's driver, so Tommy fills in and wins. Then they all celebrate, including the bartender's daughter at Salieri's bar, Sarah. But Paulie has a bit too much to drink and he wants to spend a night with a lady, so Tommy unwillingly drives him to a brothel. Another day, Luigi the bartender asks Tommy to walk his daughter Sarah home, as there have been a group of punks bothering her, so he does just that. Here we find out they have been sort of seeing each other already, but it isn't yet public. On their way they have a bust up with those punks, but after beating them up, Sarah notices that Tommy's hand is bleeding, so she invites him inside so she can fix up the wound, and they spend the night together. The next morning Salieri doesn't stand for this, as he sees Sarah as like his own daughter. So in an attempt of revenge and to stamp his authority, he sends Tommy, Sam and Paulie after the punks. Once those punks see Tommy, they run and a car chase ensues, where they crash. Paulie tells Tommy to shoot them, but one begs for his life, so he can't, so Paulie pulls the trigger. Turns out one of the people Paulie shot survived, and he happens to be a politician's son, so they have to cap him before he squeals. So Tommy creates a diversion by blowing up one of Morello's brothels, and Sam uses that to shoot the guy at his friend's funeral. But before that, the Don also told Tommy to kill an escort that was an informant to Morello. But Sam tells Tommy the information the escort tells Morello is from him when he went to see her. So he tells Tommy not to kill her, but give her $100 to get out of town, because according to Sam, she's a good person. So he does. After that rough night, they laid low for 7 to 8 months. But in 1933, Tommy started getting cocky, flashing his cash all over the place, so Frank warns him to be wiser. At this point, everyone knew about Tommy and Sarah. Frank tells Tommy his plans about collecting a shipment from Canada, a shipment of drinks. He, Paulie and Sam go to grab it and bring it home, but when they do, they get ambushed by cops. Turns out it was a setup by Morello, who was taking over all of Salieri's businesses. They go to look for Sam, who was missing. They find Sam shot. Then they get attacked again by cops while escaping, but they all make it, luckily. Paulie takes Sam to the doctor's house, and Tommy goes to Sarah's apartment, where she comforts him. He proposes, and she accepts. Days later, Salieri meets with Tommy, tells him that he suspects there's a mole, and that he has reason to believe it's Frank, his best friend of 50 years, who stole his account books. He sends Tommy to track him down and deal with it. Morello has now got the FBI on his side by cutting a deal which put Salieri under more pressure, and Frank knew about this but didn't say anything to the Don. So Tommy tells Frank, who is going to an airport to escape. After finding out that Frank was tired of this life and was just doing this because he wanted an out, Tommy let him take his family elsewhere. But not before Frank gave Tommy the key and the location of the account books he stole from the Don. When he went to the bank to collect, the clerk said Frank knew Tommy would be the one to come. This proves he didn't switch his allegiance to Morello, he genuinely just wanted an out. Tommy torched Frank's house and framed his death. Salieri never discussed Frank again after his funeral. The politician Gallotti, whose son Paulie shot, is trying to get evidence against Salieri. He hired a prosecutor, so Tommy needs to go to his mansion and dispose of the evidence collected by the prosecutor. But Salieri said specifically not to kill him, or it would create even more problems for them, so he does that without killing him. Salieri is running low on money, but Paulie has an idea from something he overheard in a brothel. He befriended the guy and found out his father has a couple of distilleries, and his exclusive buyer is Morello, but he hates him now, so they may be willing to work together. Even though Morello found out about the deal and ambushed them, gave the guy, Gates, another reason to hate Morello. Back in 1938, Tommy explains to the detective that Salieri used the money from the booze and invested in other rackets, construction, restaurants, gambling, etc. By 1935, Tommy had a wife and daughter, and Salieri wanted to get out of Morello's shadow, so he started buying his own cops and his own politicians. But up until then, Morello never did anything too serious to Salieri or his family, until he found out Salieri was building his own bench, which finally made him consider Salieri as a serious threat to him, and he snapped. While in a restaurant, we find out from the Don and Tommy that Tommy had become a bit of an alcoholic. He quit because Sarah threatened to leave him otherwise. Tommy finds out here that she only did that because the Don asked her to, because he didn't want Tommy to become drunk, because it would make him sloppy and complacent. That's when Morello's gangsters light up the restaurant. Tommy and the Don take them all out. The Don knows someone called Carlo ratted him out, so they go after him, beat him, and kill him. The Don is now ready to go to war with Morello after his attempted assassination. Since Morello still has people on his side, like politicians, Salieri can't buy them all out, so he gets Tommy to kill Gallotti during a speech, after the years of hassle he's been giving him, to send a message to the others to stop helping out Morello. Then, to keep his run going, the Don sends Tommy to kill Sergio, Morello's brother and his top earner. This would be a huge loss for Morello, so Tommy goes to Sergio's house and plants a bomb under his car. But unfortunately, a woman gets into it and gets blown up before Tommy is able to stop it. Sam and Paulie spot Sergio, so although he's traumatized, Tommy goes to their location. After a bike car chase and taking down a lot of Sergio's men, Tommy literally blows the guy up. After Sergio's death, there was an actual war going on in the streets for weeks, Morello went into hiding, until he went in the public to a theatre with the mayor. But Salieri wants him killed in public anyway, to show everyone who's boss. But he sees them coming, so yet another high-speed car chase ensues. Seems to be a common theme in this game. He flees to an airport to escape, but Tommy, Sam and Paulie don't give up. They want him dead tonight. So the trio shoot down his plane. Then they get to the wreckage and Tommy paints lead on Morello's body. Later the Don drinks to his victory, looking at an old picture of the Don with Morello, meaning they used to be friends. After telling him that he killed Morello, Detective Norman threatened to have Tommy put away for life, but Tommy tells him that he still has the Don's books Frank gave him. That's enough evidence for the Don to go away for life, so he's offering up Salieri in exchange for his family. Earlier in 1938, Salieri wanted to dispose of Turnbull, someone running for governor. He had been speaking out against Salieri and cracking down on them and their rackets, so Tommy snipes Turnbull. When he goes home, Sarah says that Turnbull wasn't all bad. He gave her the right to vote. She told him not to do anything he isn't comfortable with, not even if the Don tells him to. In the days following, Salieri says he wants to steal diamonds from the cops and that he and Sam thought up of the details. This gave a hint to Tommy that something dodgy was going on between them, since the risk didn't seem worth the reward to him. On their way to the warehouse, Paulie mentions that he wants to try new things, like a bank job. The others say to forget about it, because the Don would never go for it. But once they escaped the warehouse, the trio noticed the Don had been lying to them, because one of the boxes broke and was full of drugs. Tommy and Paulie were furious as the Don had lied to them, so the two decide to pull off the bank heist without Sam, as he was the one that was quite reluctant. Once they do it, they were planning on leaving the area so they wouldn't get in trouble with the Don. The job went smoothly enough and Paulie took the money and they were going to split it tomorrow, and Tommy was going to get his family out of Lost Heaven. But when he goes to collect his share of the cash, he finds his best friend dead. Paulie's telephone then gets a call. Tommy cautiously answers. It's Sam, warning him that the Don knows about the bank job and he is coming. He tells Tommy to come to an art gallery so they can figure out what to do next. But upon arriving at the art gallery, Sam reveals he told the Don everything. The escort Tommy let go, letting Frank live, who once he found out, the Don murdered along with his family, and he also told the Don about the bank job. Sam explains that he murdered Paulie for betraying the family, but Tommy responds by saying, "No, you only did it because you're scared of the Don." Then Tommy pulls a Joe and kills everyone in the art gallery to get to Sam, who is running away, and then he guns down one of his former best friends. Back in the present day, this explains why Tommy is on the run. The detective explains to Tommy that to get Salieri behind bars, he'd have to go on the stand to testify against him, and the other people part of the family, including Luigi, Sarah's father, and he would be facing prison time too. But Tommy is prepared to do anything for the safety of his family. 8 years later, Tommy gets out, watches his daughter get married, lives happily for a while. One day when he's watering his front lawn, 2 people show up and gun him down.
Mr. Salieri sends his regards.
And spoiler alert for Mafia 2. This is the protagonist of Mafia 2 and his best friend, Vito Scaletta and Joe Barbaro. Anyway, Tommy accepts his fate and dies surrounded by those he loved, his family. Thanks for watching. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it, comment what you thought of the story, and make sure you subscribe for more story summaries. Peace out.